So far in the discussions that we are having about random variables, we always consider na yung outcomes nung ano natin, or yung variable na titingnan natin ay isa lang. So isang outcome lang titingnan natin per variable that we are assigning. Okay. In this lesson, we will try to look into instances or instances or scenario wherein we will look for multiple variables. So we will see multiple outcomes occurring simultaneously in a certain scenario or certain experiment that we are conducting. So that brings us to the lesson of joint probability distributions. Okay, so yun nga, there will be situations, okay, however, that we will find it desirable to record the simultaneous outcomes, okay, simultaneous outcomes of several random variables. So in a given situation, maaaring hindi lang isang outcome ang titingnan natin. Titingnan natin are multiple outcomes. For example, we might measure the amount of precipitate, P, and volume of gas released from a controlled chemical experiment. So in this case, we are looking for we are looking at two variables. In a given experiment, we are looking at two random variables, assuming two different quantities. Okay, which in this case is yung measured amount of precipitate and yung measured volume of the gas. So two random variables P and V. Okay, each assuming random values. Okay, random values that pertain to the measured amount of precipitate and measured volume of the gas. So two-dimensional problem to since we have two variables involved. Okay. Or another example might be us looking in two variables, hardness and tensile strength, okay, of a cold-drawn copper. So each of your variables, okay, would take on simultaneous values H and P, okay, depending on the measured hardness and the measured tensile strength of the cold-drawn copper. Okay. In another example, to determine the likelihood of success in college based on high school data. Okay. Likelihood of success in college. Okay. Based on high school data. Okay. We may look at it using three variables. Okay. Those three variables may include the aptitude test score, the high school class rank, and the grade point average at the end of the freshman year in college. Okay, so since there are three variables here, each of them resulting in different or would assume different values. Okay, then we are looking at a scenario where we have a three variable scenario. Okay, X, Y, and Z. X represents the aptitude test score. Y represents high school class rank, and Z represents grade point average at the end of the freshman year in college. Okay, so we will study how the distribution, okay, of probability goes for this kind of situation wherein we are now dealing with two or more random variables. So if X and Y are two discrete random variables, so simulan natin sa discrete case. Okay, the probability distribution for their simultaneous occurrence can be represented by the function with values f of x, y. Okay, for any pair of values x, y, within the range of the random variables x and y. Okay? So, yung probability distribution nung ganong scenario, okay, is depicted or is described using this notation, f of x and y. Okay? And it is customary to refer to f of xy as the joint probability distribution of x and y. Okay? So in the discrete case, okay, the joint probability distribution of x and y should equal the probability of your x, assuming the value of small x, and at the same time, okay, again, ang keyword doon is and at the same time, your random variable y assumes a value of small y. So, meaning, dapat itong dalawa yung values na titingnan natin. Okay? So, titingnan natin ano yung probability in your scenario. What is the probability that your random variable x would assume the value of small x and your random variable y assumes the value of small y at the same time. Okay? So, that means now that the joint probability distribution gives you the probability, okay, that your outcomes x and y, small x and y occurs at the same time or occur at the same time. Okay? So, for example, if an 18-wheeler is to have its tires serviced, okay, and x, okay, represents the number of miles these tires have been driven, and y represents the number of tires that needs to be replaced, okay, then the notation f of 30,005, okay, represents the probability, okay, that the tires are used over 30,000 miles and the truck needs 5 new tires. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng notation na to. Okay. So, we now go to the formal definition, okay, of joint probability distribution or probability mass function, okay, of the discrete random variable x and y, okay. We will know that this is the joint probability distribution or probability mass function of these random variables if the distribution is 0 or positive, okay, for all paired values of x and y. Paired values kasi may particular combination tayong titingnan para makuha natin yung tamang probability. So each probability works for a paired combination of x and y. Okay, so for another paired combination of x and y, that gives us a different probability. Okay, now if we add up the distribution for all x's and for all y's, okay, that should add up to 1. Okay, and again, as we interpret your distribution, it should equal to the probability that your random variables x and y simultaneously assumes the values small x and small y simultaneously. Okay, so ayun. Now, for any region A in the xy plane, okay, the probability that your random variables belong to the region A is equal to the sum of the distribution inside the region A. So it means that ang implication nito is that the probabilities would actually equal a certain area, okay, in a certain region. Okay, so more on that later on. Okay, so let us discuss the example 3.14. Okay, so 2 ballpoint pens, okay, are selected at random from a box that contains 3 blue pens, okay, 2 red pens, and 3 green pens. Okay, so if x is the number of blue pens selected and y is the number of red pens selected, okay, let us find the joint probability function f of xy. Okay, so we take note first of the following, no? If x represents the number of blue pens, okay, number of blue pens selected, okay, then the number of blue pens to number of possible the possible number of blue pens to be selected may be 0, 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so it is possible that we select, since there are 3 blue pens, so it is possible that we will be selecting 0, 0 blue pen, 1 blue pen, 2 blue pens, or 3 blue pens. Okay? In the same manner, if y represents the um, number of red pens selected, okay, then the possible values for your wait, medyo mali yung representation natin kasi baka ma-misconstrue nyo to as a table. I-correct ko lang tong representation na to. Yan. So pinaghiwalay ko sila kasi hindi pa dapat sila magkasama. Okay. So again, x assumes, or the possible values that x assumes will be 0, 1, 2, 3 since there are 3 blue pens. And y can assume values 0, 1, and 2 since there are 2 red pens. So the possible xy combination that we can generate out of this is 0, 0, okay, 0, 1, 0, 2, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, okay, 2, 1, 2, 2, and so I forgot here yung 2, 0. 2, 0 muna. Okay. 2, 0, 2, 1, and 2, 2. And then 3, 1, 3, 0, 3, 1, and 3, 2. Okay? So these are the possible combinations of values for your x and y, given that these are the possible combinations for your x, and these are the possible values that your x would assume, and these are the possible values that your y would assume. But remember that the problem states that you only have to select 2 pens. So therefore, we will have to remove from here, from your sample space. Okay, we will have to remove from your sample space those outcomes, okay, that would result to more than 2 pens. Okay, to more than 2 pens. So, for example, this is 0. Ito okay lang to, since this might mean na you have chosen 2 green pens. Okay. Ito pwede, because this means that you have you have chosen 2 red pens. Okay, so ito pwede, ito hindi pwede to. This should not be this should not be included because there are this chooses 3 pens eh. Okay, 1 red and this is 1 blue and 2 red. Okay, dalawa lang yung pipiliin natin. So we have to eliminate that from the sample space. As well as this one, this, and this. So therefore, these are the possible values for your, or these are the possible paired values for your xy. Okay? So, ito yung 0, 0, okay? 0, 1, 1, 0, okay? 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 2, and 2, 0. Yeah. Okay. So now, what we will do is we will determine the probability that each would occur. Okay. So, ganito since we have three options. Okay. Again, we are we have to pick 2 pens out of 8. Okay? So, tapos we have to pick a certain number of a color of your pen out of the number of available for that color. Okay. For example, in this scenario of 0, 0 as an outcome, it means that you are to choose, you have chosen two green pens. Okay, you have chosen two green pens. Okay. So ano yung probability that in that case you would be choosing two green pens out of the possible three green pens that you have. Okay. And then among 3 plus 2 plus 8 pens all in all. Okay. So we have dealt with this before. Okay, in which this is a problem that is similar to that is the work of a combination problem. Okay. So here we will have to identify yung number of ways, okay, that we have to choose two pens out of 8 because we have 3 blue pens plus we have 2 red pens and then we have 3 green pens. Tama? 3 blue, 2 red, 3 green. Okay. So, yeah. So, all in all, you have 8 pens. Okay. So, we now have to find the number of ways, okay, by which we can select 2 pens out of 8. Okay. And that is that's 8 combination 2. Okay. So that tells us kung how many ways we can choose 2 pens out of 8 pens. Now, we have 3 colors of pens here. Okay, we have 3 colors of pens here. So, in here, okay, medyo i-generalize ko na siya. Okay. So, in here, sige, let's have a particular example muna for 0, 0 at saka 0, 1. Then let's generalize it like that. Okay. So, in here, the number of ways that you can select blue pens, okay, out of 3, okay, is 3 combination, tas kung ilan yung mapipili nyo. Okay, but since in the case of 0 and 0, it means that you will be selecting 0 blue pens out of the 3. So, alam natin na 1 yan, but still, let's put it there. Okay? And then, we have to multiply that to the number of ways that we will have to select red pens, okay, out of 2 red pens that we have. Okay? So, since here, we will be selecting 0 red pen, okay? So, we will have to compute that by using the expression 2 combination 0. Okay, so again, ibig sabihin nun, the number of ways that we have to select 0 red pen out of the 2. Okay, and then multiply that with the number of ways that we have to select green pens, okay, out of the 3 green pens that we have. So in this case, we will be selecting 2 green pens. Okay, so the number of ways now that we will have to that we can select 2 green pens out of 3 is 3 combination 2. Okay, so there. So that's the probability, or that gives you the probability of selecting 2 green pens, and thus yung value nung function or yung value nung f of xy niyo, okay, when x is 0 or 0 blue pen and when y is 0. Okay, so that should compute to say 3/28. Okay, so that should compute to 3/28. So which means yung value ng distribution natin, yung joint distribution natin when simultaneously x is 0 and y is 0, okay, is 3/28. Okay, now let us look for another value and then let's generalize. Okay, kasi kailangan natin makakuha ng general expression for your distribution. Okay, let's say this one. Okay, in this case, this now tells us that we are able to choose two red pens. So that means 0 blue and 0 green. Okay, so following the argument here, okay, that probability can be computed by using the expression 3 combination 0. That's the number of ways that you can use that you can choose 0 blue pens out of 3. So multiply to 2 combination 2. So that's the number of ways that you choose 2 red pens out of 2. Okay, and then 3 combination 0. Okay, that represents the number of ways you choose 0 green pens out of 3. Okay, divided by 8 combination 2. So that is the number of ways, okay, that you choose 2 pens out of 8 pens available. Okay, so this is now equal to your distribution, okay, when x is equal to 0 and y is equal to 2 simultaneously. Okay, so computing that, we will have 1 over 28. Okay, so we will have 1 over 28 for that. Okay, so 1 over 28. So now, how do we generalize this now? How do we generalize this expression? Okay, you see that this here actually represents the number of blue pens to be selected. So that should be where we will place the value of x. Okay, while here, okay, represents the number of red pens, okay, that are number of red pens selected. So that is where we will place the value of y. Okay, now just remember or just observe that this value plus this value, okay, plus this value should all in all equal to. Okay, dapat ang magiging sum ng tatlong values na yan should always equal to. Okay? So from there, we can now write the general expression for your distribution to be this way. Okay? So that is 3 combination x multiplied to 2 combination y. Okay? Multiplied to 3 combination of 2 minus x minus y. Okay? And then divided by 8 combination 2. Okay? So this now gives you your general, this now gives you your joint probability distribution for this particular problem. Okay? So this one. Now, we can actually use this table, okay? This distribution, okay, in order for us to generate the following table. Okay, so how do we now interpret this table now? So these are the values for your x, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, and these are the values of your y, 0, 1, and 2. Take note na in this case, kung titingnan nyo mabuti dun sa ating reduced sample space, dahil nga dalawa lang yung pipiliin nating tens, the possible values for x would be 0, 1, and 2, while for y, it would be 0, 1, and 2 also. Okay, so yun yung mga possible values that your x and y can assume. So 0, 1, and 2 at saka 0, 1, and 2. Okay. Now, if you use the expression that we have determined earlier, that is 3 combination x multiplied to 2 combination y multiplied to 3 combination of 2 minus x minus y. divided by 8 combination 2. Okay. And we substitute, say for example, 0 for x and 0 for y, you will get 3 over 28. 1 for x and 0 for y, you'll get 9 over 28. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay. You will be able to generate this table. Now, itong part na to, itong 0 dito, it's because hindi na siya kasi sakop nung ating sample space. Okay, dahil kung titingnan nyo, yung total niyan, ito at saka nito, for example, is 3. So again, dalawang ball pens lang ang pipiliin natin. So ang total nung x and y natin is 3. So that is now beyond the extent of our experiment. So kaya ito, at saka ito, 0 na yung probability nila. Okay? So, there. Okay? Now, for the second question, we are asked to find the probability that x and y belongs to a region A, where A, okay, is the set or is the region contain x and y, okay, that is contained within x plus y is less than or equal to 1. Okay? So, which means, yung sum ng x and y ninyo, okay, yung region na kino-consider natin is where the sum of x and y is less than or equal to 1. Titingnan natin ngayon yung probability. Okay, na makukuha natin or na mangyayari yung ganung scenario. Okay. So ito siya, no? First thing, pwede natin tingnan yung mga scenario or yung mga possible outcomes. Okay, the possible outcomes that would lead us to the region x plus y is greater than is less than or equal to 1. Okay, that is pwedeng 0, 0 siya. Okay, because 0 plus 0 is 0. So the sum of x and y is less than 1. Okay, or pwede ring 0, 1. Okay, or pwede because the sum of x and y is equal to 1. Okay, so sakop siya ng region na yun. Or 1, 0. Okay, so again, yung sum ng x plus y is 1. So sakop pa rin siya ng region na to. So which means that we are asked to find kasi pinapaano sa atin is yung probability of this region of this the probability that your values, okay, would occupy or will be within this region, and that region is this one. Okay, so which means we are looking for the probability. Okay, we're looking for the probability that your values, okay, that the values that you have is less than or equal to 1. So we can compute that, okay, by actually adding yung values ng probability distributions natin for this particular values of x and y. Because again, these values of x and y satisfy your region or within the region that is defined. Okay? So here, looking at the table, we see that f of 0, 0 is 3 over 28. Okay? 3 over 28. F of 0, 1. F of 0, 1 is 3 over 14. 3 over 14. While f of 1, 0, is 9 over 20. 9 over 28. So pag in-add natin siya, okay, that results to 9 over 14. Ito. Okay? So that's the probability that your sum, okay, is within this region, or that your yeah, that the sum of parang in relation to the problem, parang ano naman yung probability na na um yung mapipili mong pen ay isa lang. Okay, at ang mapipili mo it's either blue or red. Okay, or wala kang mapipili doon. Okay, basta isa lang yung parang isa lang yung mapipili mo. Okay. So, ito. So when x and y, so that's for example 3.14. Okay. So when x and y are continuous random variables, so we're now on the continuous case. Okay. We now have the joint density function. Okay, of f of xy as a surface lying above the xy plane. Okay. And the probability that your x and y belongs within the set A, where A is any region in the xy plane, okay, is equal to the volume of the right cylinder bounded by base A and the surface. Okay. So lumalabas ngayon na since we're talking about two-dimensional functions, okay, we graphically interpret yung joint density function, okay, as the volume, okay, or the probability here as the volume, okay, of the right cylinder bounded by the region A, okay, and the surface that we are considering. Okay. So formally, we define the function f of xy, again, continuous case ito, to be the joint density function, okay, of the continuous random variables x and y, okay, if, again, the distribution is 0 or positive for all values of x and y, okay, the integral, okay, the integral of the distribution for both x and y variables, okay, is equal to 1, which means that yung double integral kasi sometimes represents volume. Okay? If the integral represents area, double integral sometimes can represent volume. Okay? And that the probability, okay, is again the double integral, okay, of your distribution within the area, okay, for any region in the xy plane. Okay, so let's work on example 3.15 so that we will have a further understanding of that definition. Okay, so here, a privately owned business, okay, operates both as a drive-in facility and a walk-in facility. Okay, so in a day, the business may operates either as a drive, okay, or a walk-in. Okay, now x and y represents the proportions of time that it operates as a drive-in and a walk-in, respectively. So yung x, yung proportion of the operational time within the day of the business as a drive-in, and y represents yung proportion of the time that it operates as a walk-in facility. Okay, so the joint density distribution is given in this. Okay, so you see that x would assume a value between 0 and 1, and also y would assume a value between 0 and 1 kasi nga proportion na to. Okay, this is a proportion. Okay, so we are asked to do two things in this regard. So number one is to verify condition 2 of definition 3.9, and that condition is if the sum or if the double integral of f of xy dx dy equals 1. Okay, and second is to find the probability of your x and y being within the region A, where A is the set of numbers x and y, where x is between 0 and 1/2, and y is between 1/4 and 1/2. Okay? So, for the first one, para dito, sa first problem natin, we simply have to integrate, okay, your f of xy first for x, okay, and then for y, okay, using the limits, okay, since your x and y are not infinitely bound naman, okay, that is, ang values ng x niyo is from 0 to 1 lang, and your y is defined from 0 to 1 lang. So therefore, if you are integrating this with respect to x, edi from 0 to 1 lang yung limits natin. Okay, while if you are integrating this with respect to y, 0 to 1 lang din yung magiging limits natin. Okay? So, there. Okay? So, again, this is under the premise that yung values ng x and y ninyo are not unbounded. Okay? Dito kasi sa statement ng problem natin, we see that your x and y only assumes a value within a certain interval, which is from 0 to 1. Okay, both of them, x and y. So therefore, that changes the limit. Okay, the limits as shown in definition 2, from negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay, to 0 and 1 for both variables. Okay, so in this case, if we integrate this first, this is 2/5 of 2x plus 3y dx dy. This indicates that we will have to integrate this with respect to x first. Kasi x yung pinakaloob na differential. So we will have to integrate this with respect to x. And if we are integrating this with respect to x, y is treated to be constant. Okay? So, this is how we integrate this now. So, ito yung integral para sa dy ninyo. Okay? We have to get, or we will take 2/5 here as a constant. Okay? And then, the integral of 2x dx is 2x squared over 2, or simply x squared. Okay? Or, hindi pa rin gagamitin nyo. Dapat square bracket. Okay? Plus 3y dx, yung integral ng 3y dx, again, y is treated to be constant. So therefore, parang ilalabas mo natin yung 3y, and then we will have to integrate dx. Okay, parang magiging ganito siya. Integral siya ng 3y dx. So since y here is to be treated as a constant, since we're integrating with respect to x, so parang ilalabas muna natin si 3y. So we will have 3y plus integral ng dx. So the integral dx is x simply x. So we will have 3xy. So we will have here 3xy. And to be evaluated within the with the limits x equals 0 and x equals 1. Okay, again, ito nasa loob pa yan ng integral ng dy. Okay? So here we will have x squared, okay, or 1 square minus 0 square, so that is 1. So we will have 1 square, okay, plus minus 0 square, so that is 1. Okay, plus we have 3y, okay, minus 0, so we will have 3y here. Yan, tapos dy. So yun yung magiging result after the first integration. So notice na dapat ang mangyayari dyan, mawawala na yung x, ang matitira lang dyan y. So now we are ready now to integrate in terms of y. Okay? Now, integrating this in terms of y, again, labas natin yung 2/5 muna. And then the integral here, okay, is y, okay, plus, this is 3 y squared over 2. Okay? Yung integral ng 3y dy. Okay? Which is to be evaluated from the limits y equals 1 and y equals 0. Or within the interval y equals 0 and y equals 1. Okay? So here, 2/5 multiply to, para dito, we will have 1 minus 0, yung difference ito ng dalawa. So that is 1. Okay? And then, plus, here, we will have 3 times 1 over 2. Okay? Minus 3 times 0 over 2. So simply, that's 3 halves minus 0. Okay, so that gives us 3 halves. Okay? So now, simplifying this, we will have 2/5 multiplied to 1 plus 3 halves, okay, is 5 halves. Okay, and 2/5 times 5 halves equals 1. Okay, so that now proves, okay, that now proves the assertion of definition 3.9 number 2. Okay, that verifies the condition for condition 2 of definition 3.9. Okay? So, makuha natin na magiging 1 yung double integral nung joint distribution natin for all values of x and y. Okay? So, that's for letter A. Now, to find now this particular, the probability that that the values of your x and y would fall within a certain region, and that region is this. Okay? That is, yung x ninyo mag-a-assume ng values between 0 and 1/2. And yung value ng y ninyo mag-a-assume ng values between 1/4 and 1/2. Okay? We will do the same here. Okay? It is just that yung limits ngayon is limits for x would be from 0 to 1/2, and yung limits ng y would be 1/4 to 1/2. Okay? So, ulit natin itong proseso ng double integration na to. It's just that for x, ang limits natin would be from 0 to 1/2. Okay? And for y, ang limits natin is from 1/4 to 1/2. So this is again 2/5 of 2x plus 3y multiplied to 2x plus 3y dx dy. Okay? Again, uunahin natin yung innermost integral or innermost differential. Okay? When we integrate. Okay? Usually kasi that's the rule. Although actually, pwede nyo siyang pagpalitin. Okay? Just be very careful with the limits. Okay? Minsan pwede siyang pagpalitin in the sense na pag nakita nyo mas madaling mag-evaluate ng integral using one arrangement over the other, pwede nyo itong pagpalitin yung operation ng double integration na to. Okay? Basta ang rule is that kapag sinunod nyo siya ng ganito, the understanding is that you are evaluating this first, okay, within the inner differential first. Okay, so ibig sabihin itong integral na to, this integral, okay, refers to the inner differential. Okay, and this integral refers to the outer differential. Okay, bas ilan naman yung sinasabi ko dito. Okay, but again, pwede nyo pagpalitin yan. Okay, instead of actually using that, pwede nyo naman siyang gawing ganito. 0 to 1/2, 1/4 to 1/2, 2/5 of 2x plus 3y dy dx. Okay? Ito yung isa pang tamang way ng pagsusulat ng integral na yan. So that when you evaluate this, you would be, it would be understandable, or it would be intuitive for you to evaluate this integral first. Okay? At tama yung gagamitin yung limits for that. Okay? So, let's simply work on the first integral. Okay? So, here, since we'll be evaluating in terms of x, so again, lagay mo natin yung 1/4, yung para sa first integral. Okay, so labas natin yung 2 over 5. Okay, and then the integral here is, again, this is x squared. 2 cancels out kasi magkakaroon to ng over 2, tapos yung 2 dito makakancel out din. Okay, plus 3x y. Okay, again, dapat pala hindi, ayan, dapat square bracket. This is from x equals 0. Oh, sorry. Yeah, x equals 0 and x equals 1/2. Dy. Okay, let's evaluate this first muna na. Ihiwalay ko lang muna siya doon. Okay, so x squared plus 3xy, x equals 0, x equals 1/2. So equal yan sa 1/2 squared minus 0 squared. Okay, plus, okay, 3y multiplied to 1/2 minus 0. So yan ito yung x squared eh. Okay, this is x squared. Ito yung x niyo. Okay, so 1/2 squared minus 0 squared is 1/4. Okay, plus, this is 3y multiplied to 1/2. Okay, so this is simply 1/4 plus 3/2 times y. Okay, so yun yung ilalagay natin ngayon dito. Yun yung ipapalit ngayon natin dito. Okay, so this is now integral of 2 over 5 multiplied to 1/4 plus 3/2 times y multiplied to dy from 1/4 to 1/2. Okay? So, again, pag in-integrate natin to, labas natin muna si 2/5. Okay? And then, the integral of 1/4 dy is 1/4 y. Okay? Plus, this is 3 times y squared, okay, over 4. Kasi magiging y squared over 2 yun, then multiply to 2 dun sa ilalim, magiging 4 yung denominator. So now, we will have to evaluate this for y equals 1/4 and y equals 1/2. Okay? So, evaluating now that part. So, 2/5 multiplied to 1/4. So, yung y natin is 1/2 minus 1/4. Okay? Plus, this one, 3/4, no? Multiplied to 1/2 squared minus 1/4 squared. Yeah. So, again, I hope that integration is something that you still hold on to as one of your major skills as an engineering student. Okay, napaka-importante na marunong pa rin kayong mag-integrate ngayong at this stage of your study. Okay. In fact, dapat hindi yan nawawala sa inyo. Whether you are third year, fourth year, fifth year, graduating, nakagraduate na, professional na, dapat di nawawala sa inyo yung integration skills niyo. Okay? At least the very basic ones. Okay? So, you have here now 2/5 multiplied to 1/2 minus 1/4 is greater than 2, 4, greater than 2. Now natin. So, gawin natin yung 4. Gawin natin 2 yung numerator nito. Gawin natin 4 para pareho siya ng denominator. Okay, so this is 1/4 multiplied to 2/4 minus 1/4 is 1/4. Okay, so plus, this is 3/4 multiplied to 1/2 squared is 1/4. Okay, 1/4. Tapos yung 1/4 squared is 1/16. So, para ma-minus ngayon natin si 1/4 tsaka si 1/16. Si 1/4 gawin natin 4/16 para ma-LCD sila. Okay? So this is at 3 over 16. Okay. So this is essentially 2 over 5 multiplied to 1 over 16 plus 3/4 multiplied to 3 over 16. Okay. Which is 2 over 5 multiplied to 1 over 16 plus 9 over 64. Okay? Itong 1 over 16 gawin nating 64 yung denominator. So multiply natin ng 4 para maging 4 over 64. So that gives us 13 over 64. 2 over 5 multiplied to 13 over 64. Okay? And simplifying this, you will have ito pwedeng i-reduce ito to 32. Okay? 1 yun yung 1, ito ma-reduce sa 1, ito ma-reduce sa 32 pag dinivide natin sila. Okay? Now this reduces now to 13 over 10, 1, 15, 16, 160. Okay? So the probability now that your x would assume a value between 0 and 1/2, and your y would assume a value between 1/4 and 1/2, okay, is 13 over 160. Ayun. So it's 13 over 160. Okay. So let me take a break at this point and cut the recording. Okay, and continue the presentation on another part of the recording. Okay, so that you'd be able to digest kung ano yung na-discuss natin so far. Okay, on the next presentation, we will discuss marginal distribution. So we will define what is marginal distribution. Okay.